So there's kind of, to me, like three things going on in Commander's Land. And one of them is highly annoying. One of them is total speculative nonsense. And the other might be even dumber. Where would you like to start? You can pick. You might be able to guess which ones I'm describing.
Yeah, let's start with the highly annoying one because we can get that one out of the way early.
All right, fire away. Logo, helmet, whatever.
I mean, I think it's nothing more than political blackmail from this senator from Montana. I mean, where were the folks when the name was being changed? If government wanted to get involved in that, they could have, 3 years ago when the name was being changed. This is an opportunistic chance for him to, try and pose like he looks good for some constituents. But at the end of the day, why does a senator from Montana get to hold up what happens at RFK? That's shenanigans. And to me, as much as the name discussion is annoying, and until the team kind of says one way or the other what they're planning on doing to either honor it or continue going the direction they're going, it's all just going to allow the whispers and the rumors and all that stuff to kind of swirl. To me, the most important part of the story is get the land at RFK figured out. Hopefully that's where the Commanders end up, or potentially that's where the Commanders end up. Because to me, getting the team into a new stadium that is, built for real NFL football and isn't the death trap that FedEx has seemed to be, that's the most important part of all this. And once they get into a new stadium and if they can play good football there, again, I don't think that folks are going to be too concerned about the name moving forward.
There's a $6.05 billion bill of sale out there somewhere. And the name on it that Josh Harris and his crew purchased was the Commanders. If they were to go back to these people and say, listen, we did not purchase the rest, and we purchased the Commanders, what do you say you want to be honored? What could, why is that one guy, does he have that much power?
The only reason he has that much power is because he has the ability to hold up a potential vote on this bill. You guys were talking about this earlier in the program, B, and I thought you made arguably the best point about all of it. I appreciate that Josh Harris and company are meeting with the family and trying to make things right and figure out what's what. But the second that any cash changes hands, or whether it's a check or a Venmo or whatever it may be, you're going to have other people start coming out with their hands open. And, these guys are billionaire businessmen who have dealt with, I'm sure, difficult situations in their other businesses, not necessarily the Sixers or the Devils, but where they originally made their money from, and have dealt with folks who are trying to be, let's use a nice word, opportunistic at this moment. And I imagine they have their own set of folks around them, fixers who know how to handle people like this darn senator who is, who's trying to posture up like he's important.
Yeah. Talking with Mitch Tischler here on the BetQL guest line. Sports betting has come to the DMV. Don't place that first bet without checking with BetQL. BetQL analyzes every game to find you the most profitable betting opportunities. Get 3 free days of BetQL access by downloading the BetQL app or visiting BetQL.com. Did you see, I'm sure you've seen it by now, Pelissero reported this morning that the union is talking with the league about maybe changing the offseason schedule. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is king, and, what the league decides they think is best for the future of the league, they're going to power on through. We saw it happen when the teams went from 16 to 17 games, and, it seems like we're about to go to 18 games here. I don't know who's asking for this overhaul. I don't know what teams want more training camp because, B, you played through it, and JP, you and I have sat out there airing out our lower backs and Ashburn over the summers, over the years. By the time we get to the end of training camp, teams are done with it. The players are done with it. The coaches are done with it. They're ready for football. And extending that thing another 2 or 3 weeks, whatever this proposal ends up being, seems a little silly to me because I do think that there's value in getting these guys on the field and letting them walk through plays. And, we talk about this coaching staff kind of attacking these players in different ways, kind of learning how they learn best and trying to, teach them what they need to know on their level. And I think the same can be kind of said on a big picture. You know, a lot of guys, you can read a playbook 100 times, you can watch a play on film 100 times, but until you're on the field and you see the other side, the defense or the offense reacting to what's happening, it's hard to know how you're going to react to their reactions. And so getting these guys on the field, even though it's in shorts and a t-shirt and walk through stuff at this point in the season, I think holds value and gives guys something to work on when they go home for that 6 in the end of the mandatory camps and the start of training camp. And so to me, you know, if the NFL is even floating this out there, they're going to try and, you know, jam this thing home because that's what they do. But at the end of the day, I don't know why there's a change needed and who's asking for it.
The guys show up at the end of March, early April, and we've watched games in this town right here, and they still didn't know what to do when it came to September. Now you're going to have them show up in June, July, and they're going to pick it all up then?
I mean, and the league wants to be all about health and safety and all these different things, so you're going to have them out on the field for another 3-4 weeks at the height of, you know, the heat and, you know, away from them. Listen, there's probably a good reason, or at least in the NFL's mind, a good reason for it. I haven't seen that be, you know, offered up yet. But I do know, we all know, when the NFL wants to do something, there's not a whole lot of people that can stop it.
Ain't that the truth? Talking with Mitch Tischler here on the BetQL guest line. Dude, I want to do an actual X's and O's thing. When we were out there last week, B, and you may have been gone by then. You may have been on your trip by then. Brian Robinson gave us like kind of the first little real insight into the offense, and he said something that he expects it to be a lot more no huddle, and just go a lot faster. And you know the dude Kruger, who was kind of the one beating the drum about the pressure to sack ratio pre-draft. Kruger writes for Roto World. He actually sent me some pretty interesting information because it was my question to B-Rob that got Brian talking about the actual offense. Last season, the Commanders ran no huddle on about 8% of their offensive plays. In this is in neutral game scripts. Not if they're down 3 touchdowns and you're you know, sub 2 minute warning. Under Kingsbury in Arizona, the Cardinals ran 34% of their plays in neutral game, where it's like still a football game, from no huddle. What do you think bringing the no huddle, whether it's that much or maybe less, maybe it's 25% of plays or something. 34 is fairly high. But what do you think bringing the no huddle here can do for Jayden and for this offense?
Well, for Jayden, it dictates because for the most part, you go in no huddle, you know what the defense is putting out there. And once you know what defense or what personnel grouping they have, you have plays designed to attack that. And if your quarterback is good enough to call the plays at the line of scrimmage, as I've heard many people say he's already doing it this early, you know what I mean? If he's good enough, you have a distinct advantage over the other teams. Like some teams run a no huddle up, but they're not real fast. They just stay at the line of scrimmage. And that makes it to where a defense is stuck with whoever they have left on the football field. And you can pick them apart. You run what you want to run. I've always said, offensively or defensively, you got to find a way to dictate to the other side of the ball. That would be them dictating to a defense.
Well, and couldn't it make a young quarterback, so that our listeners understand, when you go no huddle and you're not substituting, the defense can't substitute. The defense can only substitute if the offense substitutes. So if you're keeping the same personnel on the field, wouldn't that allow Jayden to identify the coverages? Because ideally they can't change them snap to snap.
Well, normally when you're running no huddle and the defense on the field, they're basically going to run some level of zone anyway.
Right.
So that makes it easier for the quarterback as well.
Now, big man, I turn to you, Mitch Tischler. You're going to have possibly a pretty inexperienced offensive line, particularly if you got a rookie starting at left tackle for you. Allegretti's probably going to get a bigger opportunity than he's ever had. What do you make of what this does to an offensive line? Say they're running no huddle 25% of the time.
Well, first of all, big guys out a little bit. I do like the idea of running the no huddle more. I think we see it more in the Sean McVay world. I think he kind of introduced everybody to it, talking to the quarterbacks up until that cutoff point. And when you go no huddle and you get Jayden up at the line of scrimmage, with the coach talking in your ear, he can start talking you through kind of what you're seeing out there, personnel, and all those different things. And certainly a big point of it that you guys made was about the defense not being able to switch. Now, going no huddle with the offensive line, I think that makes Tyler Biotish that much more important because he's a veteran center. He's been there and done that before. We've heard that Jayden Daniels is doing a good job of identifying defenses and kind of setting the offensive line. But, you know, when you go no huddle and he's trying to do every last bit of that at the line of scrimmage, that does put more pressure on your center. And having a guy who has more experience there, he can help Jayden kind of set the line while Jayden's listening to Kliff in his ear and while Kliff Kingsbury talks about, you know, what he should be looking for in that defensive personnel. And so it's an interesting idea. And I think for an offense that's going to want to use a little bit of Jayden's speed, you know, as they go through, you know, as they run their offense, I like the idea of speeding things up a little bit, make the defense react to you instead of you reacting to what the defense is doing.
It'll be interesting. I also have read studies is the wrong word. We're talking about sports, for goodness sakes. But there are numbers that highlight the need for young quarterbacks to play under center. And just how much it helps to play action and the run game. So while I'm excited to see more no huddle, I also want to see Daniels under center a little bit. Do you think that matters still, B? No. As the game goes more and more shotgun?
I don't think it really matters. I think it comes down to whether your running game can mesh with your play action game in the shotgun. You watch what Kansas City does. Everything that they do is from the shotgun for the most part, damn near 89% of the time. And every play action is from that running back coming from off in the T position. Sometimes they get in the pistol position. When we were trying to do certain things here, even when some guys were under the center, the running game didn't match up with the passing game. So if they can make that happen, then it doesn't make a difference if you're on the center or not. You got to have a damn good center who's going to snap consistently, unlike the dude we had last year.
That was a problem last year. But, you know, I'll tell you, I do think that the run game, the play-action run game works better out from under center. But you also have to have a lot more trust in your offensive line when you do that because you're going to have your quarterback essentially turning his back to the line of scrimmage. So I think you got to figure out where your trust level is with your tackles. And I know fans have a very low trust level, but I do think an improved interior of this offensive line will by default help the tackles not be on an island as much themselves and be able to get to where they need to go. So I think you'll kind of get a feel maybe a little bit for how much Kliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and this group trust, you know, those front five by how much they're willing to, you know, let Jayden kind of turn his back to the defense and carry out those full play action or run fakes.
If you look at most of the things he did with Kyler Murray, you look at the things that Jayden did last year with LSU, a lot of shotgun stuff. Because what you don't want to do is be on the center when you're running play action pass, things like that, and then you do everything else from shotgun. You will be given a defensive read, and they'll figure your stuff out. Believe me. And I just think whatever works best, you got to be more consistent with it. Now, when you're getting in short yardage, you know what you're going to do, and things of that nature. You may want to throw some shotgun stuff. I mean, some under center things there, but the league is predominantly shotgun.
Things evolve.
Well, and we know Kliff likes to get the ball out quickly, right? You know, we've heard him talk about wanting to stretch the field both horizontally and vertically. And the more that you're under center, you know, you can still run three-step drops, which are pretty quick, but certainly not as many of the pop passes and, you know, wide receiver screens and kind of those things that have become so popular in college football today. Or sorry, NFL today.
Last thing, big man. And I want to open the phones on this. 800-636-1067. This picture of Emmanuel Forbes being very skinny has kind of gone viral all over social media over the weekend. Why?
Yeah. I think it's jarring to non-Commanders fans who haven't seen how skinny he is. I think, you know, for the most part within the fan base and certainly within the media, you know, we know that's what he looks like and we know kind of how small he is, but it's one thing for folks who watch football to look at a a stat sheet or look at a player profile and see that he weighs 180 pounds. It's another thing to see it in person and recognize that the guy probably doesn't quite weigh 180 pounds. And it doesn't help that the kid that's standing next to him is
they don't let you weigh
bigger.
with your shoulder pads on.
Right? But I don't the Commanders – I believe the Commanders have him listed at 180 if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we knew last year he wasn't 180.
They're lying.
Right. So I think amongst us, it's not – amongst us, I don't think it's as jarring. But, man, you start seeing him reacting to it, you remember how crazy it is that, your number 13 overall pick has some chicken legs out there.